Revealed, 102-year-old's incredible, life-changing secret to a long and heartwarming life. In the quaint town of Willow Creek, Harriet, a spirited 102-year-old woman, was a living legend. Her very presence brought warmth like the morning sun spilling over the lush hills. Each month, she baked a pie for the community center, filling the air with the aroma of cinnamon and sugar. Neighbors lined up for a slice not just for the sweet taste, but for the life lessons embedded in each buttery crust. "Let love be your compass," she would say, lightly tapping her nose, her eyes twinkling as if she held the secrets to the universe. But now, as the morning sun peeked over the horizon, a tension lay heavy in the air. Michael, her son, was struggling beneath the weight of his own dreams. They were like clouds suffocating his bright sky. "Mom, I need to provide for my family," he argued, his hands clenched before him. The pressure to succeed gnawed at him, a hungry beast in the dark. His wife and children depended on him, and the more he pushed, the more he felt like he was losing grip on everything he cherished. As the townsfolk clung to stories of their resilience during the Great Depression, Michael wrestled with his ambitions and the nurturing spirit he inherited from Harriet. How could he honor her legacy when he felt so lost? Then came the flood, dark and menacing. Rushing waters invaded homes, swallowing memories and causing panic. The community was gripped with fear, but Harriet's spirit soared. "Stay close," she called out, gathering young and old. "This is when we show what Willow Creek stands for." With rain-slicked hair and a heart full of warmth, Harriet became the beacon of hope. The townsfolk rallied with sandbags, filling them with determination and love. "Together, we are unstoppable," she reminded them as laughter melted their anxiety. The sight of neighbors helping neighbors radiated strength. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the floodwaters ebbed, a moment of clarity washed over Michael. Surrounded by his mother's wisdom and the community's unwavering love, he felt a shift. It wasn't about the paycheck, but about the bonds forged in times of crisis. Yet, was he ready to embrace this truth? As Harriet gathered everyone for a moment of reflection, her gentle voice echoed, "The real legacy isn't in what we build, but in the hearts we touch." In that charged silence, Michael stood at a crossroads. Could he redefine success and embrace the connection that pulsed through the very heart of Willow Creek? Was he ready to let go of his obsession with ambition for the intersections of love that bloom in community? Just as hope began to flourish, a whispered doubt tickled the back of his mind. Would he cling to a fleeting dream or dive into a deeper reality? The festival loomed ahead, a testament to the resilience they'd built together. And as he caught a glimpse of his mother's radiant smile, thick with unspoken secrets, a question danced in the air: what truly mattered? Would Michael learn Harriet's incredible, life-changing secret before it was too late? As the festival approached, Willow Creek pulsed with energy. Colorful banners flapped in the wind, laughter echoed through the streets, and the smell of fried dough and roasted corn danced through the air. Yet, for Michael, a storm brewed beneath the surface. He watched as Harriet floated from stall to stall, her gray hair catching the golden sunlight, her spirit drawing people close. It amazed him how effortlessly she engaged with everyone. Her warmth seemed to dissolve the anxieties of life. "Why can't I be like that?" he thought, frustration mixing with admiration. The festival was a reminder of everything that brought the community together. Children danced with balloons tied to their wrists, while elders shared stories on the benches, smiles brightening their weathered faces. Michael's heart tightened. Here, amidst the joyful chaos, lay the true essence of life, utterly at odds with his fixation on numbers and status. "Mom," he called out, catching Harriet's attention as she finished chatting with Mrs. Evans. There was a sparkle in her eyes, the same sparkle he had seen since his childhood. "Can we talk for a moment?" "Of course, dear. Let us step under that oak tree." She motioned him towards a quiet spot away from the bustling festival. Underneath the sprawling branches, Michael took a deep breath, trying to muster the right words. "I've been thinking about everything," he started, rubbing his hands together as if trying to warm his nerves. "I want to provide for my family, but I'm losing sight of what's important." Harriet's gaze softened, her gentle eyes urging him to continue. He felt a mix of shame and relief as he laid bare his struggles, his fears of not being enough. "Everyone depends on me. What if I can't do it?" A moment of silence stretched between them, filled only by the distant laughter and the sway of leaves. Harriet reached out, her hand resting on his arm. "Michael, you are never alone in this. Just look around you." He followed her gaze, seeing families united, friends laughing, and love filling the air. The truth settled into his heart like a warm blanket. But what if he began, only to be interrupted kindly? "There's no what if, dear. The secret to a long and heartwarming life isn't living for ourselves, but living for those we love." She paused, each word brewing with wisdom. "When you give your heart, you receive so much more in return. Building a legacy is about your presence, not your paycheck." Michael leaned against the old tree, the weight of her insight grounding him. It started to click: the pie-making, the laughter, the community spirit. He felt the warmth of connection spreading through him, soothing the tension coiling in his mind. "I've been so blinded," he admitted. "I thought success was only about the money." "Success is a sweet pie we bake with the love and care we pour into others," Harriet replied, her smile unwavering. Just then, a commotion erupted by the fair games, shouts and laughter competing for attention. A young boy had just thrown a ring perfectly onto a bottle, winning a big stuffed bear. Michael's heart swelled as he watched the boy's delighted face light up like the sun. "See?" Harriet nudged him with her elbow. "That's what matters, the joy of connection." Michael realized he had been chasing the wrong goal. The true richness came from relationship, the shared moments of laughter, and the comfort found in community. But as the sun dipped low, casting golden hues into the sky, a thought crept back into his mind. If this was what mattered most, how could he transition from a relentless pursuit of ambition to one of love? The question lingered in the air like the fragrance of pie warming in the kitchen. Just as he was about to voice it, a sudden shout cut through his thoughts. A dark cloud rolled in, literally and figuratively. Michael squinted and noticed raindrops beginning to fall, and in the distance, thunder rumbled ominously. Was it an omen, or just another storm? The festival that had brought the community together might not withstand another flood. Michael's heart raced. Would this be a time for reflection or a moment for action? What would he do? Would he step up and bring the community together again, just like Harriet had shown him? The first drops of rain were gentle, almost playful, but soon turned heavier, slapping against the vibrant festival grounds. People scurried for cover, laughter turning to shouts as the joyful atmosphere shifted. Michael's heart hammered in his chest. The festival, the lively gathering he had just begun to cherish, was beginning to unravel before his eyes. "Harriet, we need to do something," he exclaimed, urgency inching into his voice. The warmth of their earlier conversation was now fighting against a tide of panic. The community depended on this celebration not just for joy, but for connection, support, and the spirit of togetherness. "Indeed we do," Harriet replied, a spark igniting in her eye. She stood tall despite her delicate frame and seemed unbothered by the rain starting to pour. "We'll rally everyone up. Let's remind them what this festival is truly about." With newfound determination, Michael nodded. As Harriet led the way, he could feel the fire within him igniting. He was starting to grasp the value of connection, and in that moment, he realized that he could help create it. They ventured into the thickening crowd, which was slowly dispersing, umbrellas popping open like mushrooms in the rain. Harriet called out to passers-by, her voice slicing through the murmurs of confusion. "Gather round. We're not going to let a little rain dampen our spirits." A few curious onlookers paused, eyes wide. Then, as if Harriet's charisma was contagious, more people started to gather. Michael watched as her spirit took control, igniting the spark of hope in others. "Here, let us dance," Harriet exclaimed, raising her arms in an invitation. Michael's heart lifted as he joined her, extending his hand to others. Slowly, the community began to follow suit. What started as a scattered group of soaked festival-goers transformed into a perfect circle under the oak tree. Laughter bubbled back up, unfurling like the golden sunshine that had given life to the festival earlier. Michael joined hands with a young woman, who squeezed his palm in excitement as if they were sharing a secret. They began to sway together, the rhythm infectious, inviting. More participants joined in, the rain now less of a threat and more of an exhilarating addition to the moment. "See!" Harriet shouted, her laughter merging beautifully with the music of raindrops. "This is living. It's about being together." As the crowd danced, Michael looked around, soaking in the sight, the laughter, the smiles, the soaking wet shirts stained with joy. Moments like these were worth more than any paycheck. He felt his anxieties as a provider retreating, replaced with a feeling of purpose. Though the rain continued to splatter from the clouds above, it no longer mattered. In the face of nature's unpredictability, Michael found an anchor. He realized that this dance was a declaration of resilience, a statement against the storms of life that inevitably show up. The festival, with its rainbow of colors and laughter, had become a celebration of community rather than just a day of entertainment. But just as the joy reached its peak, an alarming crack of thunder boomed overhead, making everyone jump. Michael's heart skipped. There was no way this storm would stop. What would become of their gathering when faced with forces of nature? Would they fade, or could they find a way to hold on to what they discovered? In that moment of uncertainty, Michael turned to Harriet, whose eyes twinkled with a mix of mischief and wisdom. "What now?" he asked. "Now," she smiled, "we show them the heart of Willow Creek. Let us find a way to shelter everyone together." As Michael felt a rush of adrenaline, he couldn't help but wonder, was this the beginning of redefining not just the festival, but the legacy he would build? Would the storm open the door to something greater than himself, something that truly mattered? And while he stood there at the center of it all, he had to ask, was he ready to lead? Michael's mind raced as he processed Harriet's words. The heart of Willow Creek. A strange thought struck him. The town had always been filled with stories, laughter, and love, but he hadn't truly felt its essence until now. With the rain pelting down, he realized it wasn't just about physically sheltering the community but igniting the warmth within it. "Right!" he shouted over the now persistent drumbeat of rain. "Let us gather supplies. We can set up a temporary shelter near the gazebo. It'll be fun like an oasis in a storm." Harriet nodded, her eyes shining with excitement and purpose. "I'll rally the volunteers. You find the supplies. We need hay bales, tables, anything we can use to make it work." As people began to respond, their spirits buoyed by the shared mission, Michael felt a spark ignite his heart. He dashed toward the nearby barn where old chairs and tables lay stacked. The willing arms of his neighbors would help him carry everything. Together, they could create a haven from the rain. In every direction, the festival grounds flourished with laughter and chatter, rain tapping rhythmically against umbrellas and raincoats. Michael's pace quickened, adrenaline coursing through him. Every face he passed was filled with determination. This storm was not going to break them, it was fueling their resolve. The sight of thick bales of hay brought relief. He started hauling them into the shelter area, his hands working alongside others who had already arrived to assist. A young girl with pigtails squealed with laughter as she jumped atop a hay bale, cheering her friends to join her. They clambered up, filling the air with giggles, and for a moment, it felt like a scene from a joyful childhood memory, one unmarred by the chaos of adulthood. Soon, the gazebo transformed. The rough wood beams provided solid coverage, while colorful fabrics were draped to create an inviting atmosphere. Tablecloths were pulled from picnic baskets. Hot cocoa simmered in cups held by grateful hands. This surge of togetherness reminded Michael of what truly matters: building experiences, not just moments. Looking around, the warmth spread through him. Everyone who had initially sought cover now shared laughter and conversation, the festival blooming anew despite the downpour. Michael caught Harriet's eye as she handed out steaming mugs. "You did it," he said, breathless from the effort. "No, we did it," she smiled back, her voice sparkling with gratitude. "Look at this." It was a celebration reborn, a vibrant tapestry of hope sewn from the fabric of their community. Yet, lurking in the joy, the thunder still rolled, and raindrops danced around them, reminding everyone of the storm still raging outside. Just as apprehension tried to take hold again, a powerful moment of silence gripped the crowd. Michael glanced up, heart tight. Was hope enough? A sudden strong gust swept through, rattling the makeshift shelter. The laughter momentarily faltered, replaced with gasps as the lights flickered overhead, casting ominous shadows. Michael could feel a knot tightening in his stomach. "Stay close," he called out to everyone, his hands gripping the edge of a table. But just then, a girl tugged at Harriet's shirt, eyes wide. "What if it gets worse?" she asked, her voice trembling with fear. A pregnant pause hung in the air, and Michael's heart raced. They had transformed the festival into a sanctuary, but nature was unpredictable. What if their efforts were not enough? He glanced at Harriet. She looked unshaken, her demeanor strong. "Together," she said gently, her tone firm but reassuring. "We can handle anything. Just like the rain, we'll weather this storm." In that moment, perhaps it was not only shelter they needed, it was belief. They were a community, united against the elements, and Michael understood that leading meant sharing that belief even in the face of doubt. "Who's with us?" he shouted, his voice rising above the wind, searching for their strength. As everyone's voices erupted in unison, Michael felt a new surge. Could courage withstand the brewing storm? Would they emerge stronger than before? And as he continued to gauge their collective resolve, he had to ask, what would they create from the chaos ahead? The wind whipped through the tent, rattling the makeshift decorations they had draped earlier. Michael's heart raced as he scanned the worried faces around him. The girl who had asked, "What if it gets worse?" was clutching Harriet's hand tightly, her small fingers clinging on as though it were a lifeline. "Hold on tight," Michael shouted, his voice roaring against the gale. He turned to face the crowd, determination etched into his features. "This storm can't take away what we've built here today. We're all part of this." A murmur of agreement surged through the throng. People began to nod, faces brightening, the initial panic giving way to a collective strength. With every shout of encouragement, he felt the warmth of their camaraderie grow. Harriet squeezed the girl's hand, her presence steadying. "Remember the stories we share. This is just another one. A little rain can't wash away our memories, right?" The girl looked up at Harriet, confusion slowly morphing into a hesitant smile. "Yeah," she finally responded, her tone shifting. "Like the story of the storm that brought everyone together." A chorus of laughter erupted, and the heaviness lifted, if only for a moment. Michael saw the sun peek through the clouds, casting a brief golden light across the festival grounds. It was a flicker of hope amidst the uncertainty, a reminder of what lay beyond the rain-drenched chaos. As they waited for the storm to pass, they shared stories, laughter breaking out like fireworks. Old tales of Willow Creek's history mixed with brand new memories being forged under the shelter of the gazebo. Each story served to weave a tighter bond among them, stitching each heart closer to the other. But then, a sudden crack of thunder reminded them all of the storm's power. The sky darkened again, and Michael felt a chill creeping down his spine. "We need to reinforce the shelter," he shouted, urgency coursing through him. In a flurry of activity, they all sprang into motion. Neighbors worked side by side, holding up the drapes and securing the tables. Harriet dashed back to the barn and emerged with more bales and planks, her energy infectious. "Michael!" she yelled over the rising winds. "We can fortify the edges. Everyone get ready." Michael rallied a group, and they rushed to secure the flapping fabric, fastening it tightly to the gazebo beams. The sound of the wind whipping around them was joined by the rhythm of their hearts racing, pounding with purpose. Just then, the skies let loose. Rain poured down in an unrelenting torrent, but the gazebo held strong. Instead of cowering, those underneath cheered. The chaos outside became a backdrop for resilience. Michael felt a jolt of pride. They were not simply surviving, they were thriving in this moment of shared experience. A storm couldn't take away their spirit. As the rain continued to hammer against the roof, Michael scanned the crowd, catching glimpses of tear-streaked laughter and gleaming eyes. In the heart of their storm, they had found each other. They hadn't just built a shelter, they had constructed a fortress of hope. Yet, just as that thought warmed him, an eerie silence enveloped them, the chatter diminished, replaced by an uneasy stillness. Michael's breath caught as he saw shadows moving across the ground near the gazebo. "What's happening?" Harriet asked, her brow furrowing. Michael strained to see, adrenaline surging again. Were the shadows just a trick of the fading light? Or was something more sinister lurking in the edges of their haven? An electric pulse of fear coursed through him. What could they still face after this? He took a deep breath, ready to confront whatever was coming next. And just then, a voice called out from the shadows, breaking the tension, "Hey! Is everyone okay in there?" Hope surged as Michael prepared to respond, but uncertainty lingered just beyond the edge of the gazebo. What would happen when the storm truly passed? "Who's there?" Michael called out, heart pounding. The rain filled the air with a thick hum, but the figure emerged, barely visible through the heavy downpour. It was an elderly man, an unlikely sight during such chaos. His silhouette hovered just at the edge, as though the storm itself had conjured him up. The unfamiliarity of his presence was both curious and unsettling. "Is everyone all right?" The old man yelled again, his voice steady, cutting through the wind. "Yeah, we're here," Michael replied, squinting to get a better look. As the man stepped closer, a flash of lightning illuminated his features. Deep lines marked his face, and his eyes sparkled with an unexpected warmth that made Michael feel a bit more grounded. "I'm Harold," he said, his voice softer now, almost soothing. "I've lived here my whole life, and I heard the storm from my place. I just wanted to make sure you're all okay." Michael shared a glance with Harriet. "We're holding up. Just a little rain, right?" The crowd behind him began to murmur, some glancing at each other, sharing silent questions about who this man might be. It was clear he wasn't just any stranger, there was a history written in the grooves of his age. Harold nodded, his gray hair plastered to his forehead. "You youngsters have been doing a wonderful job. But I think I might just have something that could help." With that, the tension shifted in the air, filled with curiosity. Michael stood a bit taller. "What do you mean?" "Back when I was a boy, we had a storm that was far worse than this," Harold began, the remote look in his eyes suggesting distant memories. "My father had a secret. He taught me something important that helped us through many storms. Would you like to hear?" The crowd leaned in, charmed by the unexpected turn of events. "Yes," Harriet urged, the little girl beside her nodding along, eager. Harold smiled and started to speak, infused with an energy that cut through the rain's steady rhythm. "You see, it's not just about protecting what you've built, it's about coming together. When that storm hit, our town knew we had to stand side by side. My father gathered everyone under the old oak tree. He told stories. The laughter and the connection made the storm feel smaller, like a passing moment rather than a life-altering event. Michael felt a flutter of camaraderie in the crowd. They craved that connection now more than ever, and the recent storm had already tested their spirits. But while Harold spoke, a low rumble echoed, almost like the wind carrying his father's voice. The urgency began to seep in again. The rain intensified, and the sky darkened once more. "Gather close!" Michael shouted again, urgency rising in his chest. Conversations began to fade out as everyone drew nearer to Harold, hearts yearning for comfort. "Tell us more." Someone called out, and an unexpected energy surged through the air. "I've got a remarkable story to share," Harold continued, leaning on a post of the gazebo, securing his place in the heart of all. And then, just as Harold began to recount his tale, a mighty crash echoed from somewhere beyond the tent, sharp and sudden, drawing all eyes toward the direction of the noise. What was that? Michael's heart raced. Harriet gripped the girl's hand tighter, powerlessness washing over them as uncertainty gripped their hearts. "Stay close together. Whatever happens, we face it as one," Michael called, knowing the storm was not finished with them yet. The sound loomed ominously, and the shadows surged closer. What else awaited them amidst the turmoil of the storm? What secrets, both of the past and present, were yet to be uncovered? The crowd stiffened, eyes wide with dread as the crash echoed once more. Michael's hands clenched into fists. He could feel the pulse of anxiety rising around him, brushing against their collective skin like the cold rain. "Stay calm, everyone," he shouted, even though his own heart thudded in sync with the menacing sounds beyond the safety of their shelter. Harold, unwavering, placed a steadying hand on Michael's shoulder. "It's just the wind," he insisted, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "Stories always come from the storm, you know. Sometimes, it brings more than just rain." Harriet grabbed the little girl's shoulder, trying to project confidence she didn't quite feel. "It's okay, we've got each other. We'll get through this." But her voice trembled slightly, betraying her own fear. Suddenly, a sharp crack shattered the air, like a thunderclap. The crowd gasped collectively, and a couple of people stumbled backward, trying to shield themselves. Michael took a step forward, forcing himself to be the anchor in this tempest. "Harold, what happened during your storm?" he asked, hoping the story would bring solace. With the rain hammering against the gazebo and shadows swirling just beyond their refuge, Harold fixed his gaze on Michael, determination flickering in his expression. "This may seem bleak, but during our worst storm, we found the light within that darkness. My father told us that stories could outshine any fear," he began, slowly guiding their attention away from trepidation. "What happened next?" Michael pressed, drawing the crowd in closer, an invisible line of hope forming around them. "There was a family, caught in their own fear. Their house was battered. When my father gathered the townsfolk, he made us share our stories. Each tale was like a beacon, a warm glow that lit the path through the storm. It reminded us of who we were, what we meant to one another." Harold paused, letting the weight of his words settle over them. Michael felt the surge of resilience rippling through the air. "What happened to that family?" "They found their strength through the stories, like we find our strength in each other," Harold said, and something in his tone shifted. "They became a part of us, and we a part of them. A tapestry of connection that no storm could unravel. Just like us," Harriet said, a spark of realization igniting in her eyes. The little girl beside her echoed, "Yeah. We're all together now." Just then, another wave of howling wind swept over the gazebo, rattling the structure. This time, the crowd stood their ground, united in defiance. "See!" Michael exclaimed. "We're not running away. We're not hiding. We're facing it as one." The crowd erupted in murmurs of determination, voices rising above the storm's cacophony. Their collective spirit crackled in the air, merging with the sound of rain, as though the storm couldn't shake their resolve. As Harold began to weave more stories, a tale of lost puppies, a dance in the moonlight, a harvest festival that had brought the town together, the atmosphere shifted. Laughter broke through the tension, wrapping around them like a warm blanket. But just as the camaraderie lifted their spirits, another crash resonated, louder this time, echoing with a sense of urgency. "Hold tight," Michael called, sensing the storm had something unexpected in store. "Whatever it is, we face it together." But what would emerge from the shadows beyond the tent? What secrets of their past did the storm still hold, begging to be uncovered? A sudden gust of wind battered against the gazebo, rattling the walls with a ferocity that sent shivers down Michael's spine. The laughter and stories hung in the air like fragile bubbles, but the storm had a different intention, its howling voice threatening to encroach upon their fragile sanctuary. "Everyone, focus on each other. Let us keep that bond strong," Michael urged, feeling the weight of his role tightening around him. With a determined nod, he scanned the faces before him, searching for any flicker of hope amidst the dread. Harold's story of resilience still lingered in the air, but another crash resonated, causing Harriet to gasp, small hands clutching tightly onto her daughter. The little girl's wide eyes mirrored the uncertainty of the adults, yet amid the fear, there was a glimmer of courage. "Stories come from the storm," Michael repeated, his voice booming through the chaotic winds. "Let us share what we love. I'll start." He could hear his heartbeat echoing in his ears, but he had to remember Harold's lessons. Each story had the power to bind them closer together. "I remember my grandmother," he said, wiping the rain off his face. "She used to say that every storm carried a lesson." The crowd leaned in, hungering for connection torn between the storm and the warmth of shared words. "My grandmother was fiercely independent," he continued, a smile breaking through his tension. "She used to stand outside, arms wide open, welcoming the rain and wind, claiming it was nature's way of washing away the past. And each time the sun returned, she would sit us down and we'd share our experiences, our lessons learned." What happened after she welcomed the storms? A voice called from the back, eager, hungry for more. Michael drew a breath, pushing past his own rising fear. "She taught me how storms sometimes bring the most beautiful rainbows. That even after the darkest days, we find strength in the sunlight. That's the importance of sharing, even when we are scared." Finally, the faces in the crowd began to soften, some were even smiling through the rain, finding strength in the words shared against the backdrop of the storm. Inspired, others began to step forward with their own stories, glimmering with a shared vulnerability. "I have one," an older man named Gary said, his voice steady despite the gale. "I remember the storm that knocked the old oak tree down by the school. We all came together to clean up, and it felt like we were more than just neighbors after that. We became a community." Inspiring nods echoed through the crowd, igniting more stories of love lost and found, of unexpected friendships and simple acts of kindness. Each revelation, each story, became a brick in the fortress they were building together against the storm outside. But just then, the wind howled once more, cutting through their fragile joy. The environment shifted, shadows moved close enough that Michael felt they might touch him. "Stay together. We must," but before he could finish, a flash of light lit up the dark sky, illuminating something in the distance. The crowd gasped, eyes widening at what lay hidden in the shadows beyond the veil of rain and wind. "What was that?" someone whispered, a chill running through the gathered group. Michael's heart raced. "Whatever it is, we face it together." As the storm intensified, the figures in the shadows seemed to linger, hinting at revelations yet to come. What secrets had the storm brought with it? What truths lay shrouded in that menacing darkness, waiting for their courage to uncover? The wind howled outside like a feral beast, and Michael squared his shoulders, grounding himself against the storm and the shadows that danced ominously just beyond their sanctuary. The crowd, now a tapestry of anxious faces wrapped in the colors of fear and determination, mirrored his resolve. If they could remain together, they could face whatever darkness was creeping closer. "What is going on out there?" A tremor of uncertainty ran through Harriet's voice, clutching her daughter tightly. Her young child whimpered, burying her face in her mother's coat. Michael took a slow breath, staying focused on the flickering light reflected in their eyes. "One step at a time. But first, let me finish. He felt compelled to continue weaving the comfort and strength of stories. Sometimes, secrets hide in the shadows, just waiting for the light to find them. Secrets? Gary echoed, knitting his brows together. Like the ones carried by that oak tree. There's bound to be a reason why we're feeling this change. Exactly, Michael said with newfound energy. Sometimes, storms reveal truths we've kept hidden even from ourselves. Who else has a story they need to share? The storm only claws at us if we take comfort in silence. A young woman stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly but her voice steady. I've got a story. She took a deep breath, holding on to every word like a lifeline. When I was a little girl, my family lost everything in a flood. The waters rose so fast we thought we'd drown. But my dad, her voice shook, turning into a whisper. He climbed up on our roof, waving to the rescue boats until they found us. And in that moment I learned about courage. A wave of shared emotion passed through the group, a warmth began to seep into their bones as they connected over their fears, hopes, and memories. His bravery was my rainbow hidden inside the disaster, she concluded, her eyes shining through the rain. Just then, a deafening crack echoed through the air, stinging their hearts. The flash of lightning illuminated the unfolding scene beyond the gazebo. A tall figure emerged, dripping wet. It was old Mr. Jenkins, a reclusive neighbor, stepping into the light as if summoned by their stories. What brings you out in this storm, Mr. Jenkins? Michael boomed, trying to mask his rising dread under a layer of bravado. I have something important to share, Mr. Jenkins stammered, his hands shaking slightly. He peered around at the crowd solemnly, his gaze locking with Michael's. A secret that I've kept for years. I think it's time for you all to know about the treasure buried beneath the old oak. Gasps resonated through the crowd, their attention now fully captured by the man who had been a ghost in their lives for so long. Treasure. It was Gary, his eyes bulging with a mix of disbelief and curiosity. You mean out there in the storm? Mr. Jenkins nodded solemnly. Yes. But it's not what you think. The weight of this revelation hung heavy in the air, tension crackling like the lightning overhead. Michael felt the pulse of anticipation race through him, the adrenaline of both fear and hope coursing through the group. What do you mean? Michael's voice tremored as he stepped closer, urging the man on. Tell us. Beneath the thrum of the storm, the shadows outside loomed larger, and the night revealed only fragments of truth. What could Mr. Jenkins possibly mean? It's not just gold or silver. He paused, and the thunder rolled almost protectively overhead. It's more about the meaning behind it all. It's about Michael's heart pounded. What paths would this journey lead their hearts down, and would they be ready to embrace whatever lay ahead? The storm outside raged, but greater fears lingered just beneath the surface of that moment. Little did they know, the wildest secrets were just waiting for their courage to uncover. In the heart of the storm, a new energy brewed among the gathered townsfolk. As Mr. Jenkins' words hung in the air, Michael felt an electric charge of anticipation ripple through the crowd. What is it? Someone shouted, growing restless. Mr. Jenkins cleared his throat, taking a calming breath. When I was a boy, my father used to tell tales about a treasure buried beneath that old oak tree. It wasn't just material wealth. It was stories, love, and the shared experiences of our community. The crowd leaned in, their collective breath hitching in excitement. The rain may have poured, but warmth bloomed in their hearts, an intimacy fueled by connection. A treasure? Gary murmured, looking skeptically at the older man. But it wasn't skepticism that filled the air, it was curiosity, a desire to uncover something deeper than mere objects. That oak tree is still standing today, Mr. Jenkins continued passionately, oblivious to the weather raging around them. It's a symbol of our strength. It's left untouched through storms, just like we are right now. You mean it's out there waiting for us? Michael urged, a sudden thrill rushing through his veins. Then let us go find it. Harriet grabbed Michael's arm, her eyes shining. We can do this together. In that moment, the rain felt lighter, almost like a gentle shower than an impending torrent. The crowd erupted with excitement at the idea of a quest, their fears transformed into laughter and light-hearted banter. Together, Michael shouted, his heart soaring. "We've survived the storm, so let us be brave and face this next one together." As they piled out of the makeshift shelter, Michael grasped the hands of those around him. They moved as one cohesive unit, a tide of warmth advancing toward the old oak. "Stay close," he called as they ventured outward, the swirling winds creating an exhilarating rush. The town felt alive, filled with the echoes of laughter, courage, and connection. The old oak stood majestically, its gnarled branches swaying defiantly in the wind. When they reached it, the storm felt less daunting, and the companions gathered around its thick trunk, united in purpose. "Okay, what now?" someone asked eagerly. "Start digging," Michael directed as they formed a circle, strength surging through them. Hands found shovels, spades, anything that could excavate the earth. As they dug, stories bubbled up of moments spent under the oak, of summers gone by. Those connected by roots of love and trials shared, stories intertwined like veins of the leaves that danced in the wind. Finally, a clang sounded, followed by gasps of surprise. With shovels in hand, they uncovered a rusty, old chest. It looked weathered by time, yet it beamed with promise, a tangible symbol of their collective effort. As they pried it open, memories flowed out like the rain letters, photographs, and tokens from previous generations. The treasures told stories of resilience, suffering, and the threadbare ties that bound their community. Tears sparkled in the eyes of many. This was more than buried treasure, it was a tapestry of their shared history, a legacy. As Michael glimpsed Harriet, he saw the tears spilling down her cheeks, and they were not from sorrow, but joy. "It's beautiful," she whispered, tracing the edges of a weathered teddy bear inside. "This is our history, our heart." The clouds parted just then, casting a sliver of sunlight upon them, illuminating the entwined hands lifting letters and old photographs into the air. Instinctively, Michael felt the warmth of something profound wash over him, a realization trickled through. The heart of Willow Creek wasn't defined by material possessions or an endless pursuit of success, it was in the memories shared, the bonds forged even amidst storms. "What matters is the connection we create," he declared, his voice steady and proud. "This is our legacy. The love and care poured into our community. That's what we pass on." As if prompted by their collective resolve, the clouds above began to disperse, trickles of sunlight breaking through. The town, once steeped in fear, was now alive with laughter, connection, and resilience. In that moment of clarity, Michael understood his true mission. It was more urgent than any ambition, it was about nurturing the relationships in his life and building a future grounded in love. And standing by his side was Harriet, piecing together a smile as radiant as the newly cleared sky. They had transcended the storm together, united by stories, laughter, and the spirit of hope. Together. The crowd echoed, their voices ringing out like a joyful symphony in the wake of their collective heart. They transformed their treasure into a vibrant celebration, vowing to create a community that would stand the test of time, just like the oak. An unwavering legacy of love, laughter, and memories that swayed in the wind and strengthened them against whatever storms lay ahead. This was Willow Creek, and it was alive. And let this story inspire you. Don't wait. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support fuels this journey. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support and be part of our growing community. Don't wait not even one more second to share.